Good night, everyone. Johnson night. God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Irma Jill Spiritual Divine. Now we back to the Bible study. We took a little break from it, but we back with the Bible study. The water saw Marion, Mariah, and Eamon complain in the desert. So when Pharaoh, horses, carriers, herdsmen went into the sea, remember the Lord brought the waters of the sea back over them. But the Israelites walked through the sea on dry ground. You might remember God had Moses, to open up the close the Red Sea, so the Israelite can walk on dry ground. And so when the Egyptian came behind, he had Moses to open the Red Sea back up. So the Israelite walked through the sea on dry ground, and then Miriam, that's Moses' sister, the prophet, Aaron and Moses' sister, they took a tamarind in her hand, and all the women followed her. All the women followed her, with the tamarind. She was playing the tamarind, singing, and she was dancing. So they had all the women, the Israelite followed her. She was singing, and she sang to the Lord, just like David did. Sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. Both horses and driven that he had curled into the sea. Now she's singing, and she giving God highly praise because God delivered them from slavery, and then God helped them got through them over the Red Sea. So she's singing, she praising God. She giving God the highest praise. So this story gonna come from Exodus chapter 15, verse 22. Um, verse 22 to 27. Okay, so God put Pharaoh crew, his whole army, under the Red Sea. The Israelite crossed over on dry ground. So now Moses had the Israelite to cross over. And now Moses led Israel from the Red Sea, and they went into the desert. Now you remember, Moses is leading 2 million Israelites. That's how many people he have to lead to their promised land. So now they're going through the desert, and it's supposed to be a 3-day journey. So they're camping out under this little tree, for 3 days. For 3 days they're camping out. They're traveling through the desert. Traveling through the desert on their journey for 3 days with no food. With no water. Yeah, no food and no water. So now, and when they got there, they could not find nothing to drink. And when they found something to drink, it was bitter. Because it was bitter. And that is why the place is called Mary. So now the Israelite, they're on a journey, 3 days. No water. No water. So this is a short trip. And they start complaining. They start complaining to Moses. Now Moses got 2 million people. Start complaining to him. A lot of people he had to deal with. So now remember, Moses is leading 2 million people. He have to lead. Now Moses cried out. Now all these people coming to Moses. We ain't got no water. So Moses cried out to God, asking him what to do. So the Lord showed him a piece of wood. Now God about to perceive a miracle. He not only just show power, he about to show some miracle. Now, he cried out to the Lord. So the Lord showed him a piece of wood. So God showed him wood, and then he threw it into the water. And then the water became fit to drink. Remember, they had water, but it was bitter. So now God threw a piece of bowl into the water. And now he said the water is fit to drink. It is fit to drink. So now we see it's only a short trip, from shore, stopping in miracles. God is making miracles already. Now we see that God would see a miracle and the water was bitter to drink, but God used that piece of wood and threw it in the water, and now it's fit to drink. So God used that wood. He showed miracles right in front of their face. And he threw it in the water, and it turned to water. And the water had become to be sweet. So that was some good sweetened water. So a short trip. And Israel is already crumbling, complaining. You know, they just got out of from being slavery. Crossed over that Red Sea. In the desert. Gonna be there for 3 days. And they complaining already. So their faith is shaken, to its foundation because they have no water. And a lot of us like that. We say we love God. We say we trust God. But let the difficult come. Let the hard time come. Let the trouble come. Let all these things come. We'll be just like the Israelites. Our faith just starts shaking. It just starts waving. And they start panicking. So the Lord issued a ruler, an instruction, for them. Since they was complaining. So now God is coming with a command. He about to test them. He good in testing. Remember, he tests Abraham. So he giving them a test. And remember, he tests Abraham. Moses said, if you listen carefully to the Lord, your God, and do what is right in his eyesight, and if you pay attention, to his command and keep all his degree, now God told them, if you keep his command, he will not bring on any of the diseases he brought on the Egyptians. And you remember he kept on had all kind of plans. He had Moses to turn the stick into a snake. He did all kind of different plans. But guess what? He kept on saving the Israelites. But whatever kept on, everything God was setting on the Egyptians, God was saving the Israelites. So then it came to Elim, where there was 12 springs and 70 palm trees, and they camped there near the water. So they camped there near the water. They were under the palm tree. And Israel refused to believe God in the face of difficulty. That sound like us too. It sound like us too. On they're on this short trip and they complaining already. Israel refused to believe God in the face of difficulty and challenges. And that feel like that's the time we need God. But that's the time God get quiet sometimes. That's the time we need God. We need him in that time, in our dark time in the wilderness. The time. So God had told them to keep his command. Now we all may act like the Israelite, in difficult times. We might act like them in difficult times sometimes. God promised that if the people obey him, they will not suffer a plague or take any place of the Egyptians. Now he said, if you obey my command, I will not put the stuff on you like I did with the Egyptians. So we see the Israelites, on their journey for 3 days. They're in the desert right now without water, but God did a miracle. He threw a piece of wood into the water and made the water fit for them to drink. And we see that Moses have to lead 2 million, people, who crying out for him about water. So the water, there is bitter, but God will see a miracle, a piece of wood and threw it into the water and it became sweet. So the Israelites, start complaining in the desert that they don't have no water. So after God perceived, water for them, he gives them a command. Now after he did the miracle, he gives them a command. Because he said that the whole time with the Egyptians, You know, so he wants them to keep his command. He saw how they were crumbling and complaining. You know, so I will not put suffer on you like I did with the Egyptians. You know, it's easy to complain quickly, you know, than to trust God in difficult times. You know, but we have to trust God in our difficult time, and sometimes, you know, sometimes we might be like the Israelites sometimes, but we got to overcome it. I'm talking to myself too. We have to trust God. We have to trust God. And I know it can be hard. We can say we trust God, we can say we love God, but let that difficult time come. You know, our whole answer will change. You know, so sometimes we might feel like we're the Israelites sometimes. But then we have to catch ourselves and trust God. You know, so that's all the word I have for you on today. That the Israelites now cross over the Red Sea, you know, and they're in the desert for 3 days with no water, but God will see a miracle and allow them to have fresh water to drink, you know. So that's all the word I have for you on today. And I see y'all on the next video. Have a blessed night.